we got to start with the obvious. Your name, Ty France, dude. Ever since having a Ty in my life, this is going to be a nice opportunity to be able to speak to a Ty who actually responds and talks back to you. So Ty France, thanks for hopping on. Keep swinging, brother.
Yeah, you got it, man. Thanks for having me.
When that video came out, the one that went viral, I think it's at 70 million right now on TikTok. On Instagram, it's at 10 million. But the video of this baseball where it's Ty's footprints on the ball, it was kind of crazy how that went all around. But you had messaged me saying that somebody had sent it to you.
Yeah. I think one of my buddies had sent it to me, but no, yeah, that's a cool idea. I like that.
So I actually kind of second guessed myself when we were in the delivery room. I was like, we didn't do this with Miles, so maybe we shouldn't do this right now. And the nurse and like Becca looked at me. She was like, "Are you sure? Because this might never happen again." So
Yeah.
I was like, "All right, sure, let's do it." And then like next thing you know, millions of views after that. At what point did you start to become Ty? 'Cause I know obviously your full first name is actually Tyler, just like all
Yeah.
the others, I'm sure.
I think it was pretty early on. I think as far as I can remember from being a baby, it's always been Ty. When people call me Tyler, I get confused.
That's how you know if they know you or not.
Yeah, usually it's my mom that calls me Tyler, and it's usually when I'm in trouble. So if I hear Tyler, I know something's up.
She's like, "Tyler Lawrence, friends, please come do your homework."
Yeah, that's what I was used to.
Sure, hearing that brings back good memories. But dude, like everybody on this show, whoever hops on, we always talk about the very beginning part of just their life in general and like what kind of got them into baseball. So your earliest memories of playing baseball and just any sport in general were at 2 years old. So I guess like take us back to those days. I know you had two sisters who were apparently the smart ones in the family. Your dad ran cross country, but yeah, just take us back to those early days.
Yeah, grew up, baseball is I started playing baseball right away as soon as I could hold a bat and walk around. I was playing baseball, but I want to say it was as early as 2 years old. I was out there playing t-ball and kind of throughout the years just developed a love for it. And it wasn't really until I mean, I enjoyed the game. I love the game, but I also really love football. Football was one of my I just enjoyed getting out there and competing. But baseball, shoot, I mean, it probably wasn't until I'd say around high school time when I committed to San Diego State, where I got that confidence to where I was like, okay, this could be a thing. So I got to college playing baseball, and then once I started getting like recruited by pro teams, that's when my kind of, I don't want to say my love for the game, because I've always loved the game, but you grow up watching these guys out here on major league fields, and you always hope one day that you could be there, but you never really, like, it doesn't really set in until you're actually getting recruited by those pro teams and stuff. And that's when I was like, okay, I don't know, this is what I want to do. I know for a fact this is what I want to do. So I was very lucky and fortunate to be drafted, and here we are today.
I know you mentioned football. You're huge into football, baseball. That the interest of that game just in general really sparked when you'd go to a lot of Angels games. Because was it your aunt who had season tickets?
Yeah, her boss at the time had season tickets, and him and his wife were in a bowling league or something, and they gave her tickets all the time. So I grew up going to a ton of games because they had their bowling they had to go to. So yeah, very lucky, very fortunate, because that also helped develop my love for the game. Watching those guys, that 2002 team just take off and win the World Series, going to the playoff games there, and that was a really cool experience. I'm very grateful for.
When I was a kid, I had the opportunity to go to either, this is going to bring back some memories too for you. It was Angel Stadium or Qualcomm. And I chose Qualcomm where the Padres used to play because they had, remember those like sweet palm trees out in the outfield? I thought that was cool. And ironically, the Mariners were playing there and Ken Griffey Jr., A-Rod, all those dudes were on the team. So I chose to go to the Padres game, but still like always to this day in the back of my mind, I'm like, damn, I wish I went to an Angels game.
Yeah, I mean, the stadium's changed throughout the years, but that's a cool one to have on your list. I went to a lot of San Diego State football games at Qualcomm, so never saw a baseball game there, but that would be another cool one to check off the list.
Big LT fan?
Yeah, the Chargers were still there when I was in school, so never actually went to a Charger game, but the town went nuts for them, so that was cool.
Yeah, I bet. All right, so before you talked a little bit about high school, something that I love, there's a bunch of things that I love about you, and I don't mean to pump your tires throughout this entire episode, but you define keep swinging when it comes to just getting after your dream and just not letting anybody get in the way of it. And one thing that you did, which I think is huge with anything that anybody goes after as far as their dreams with approach, is you take things day by day. So when you were in high school, like you said, you're playing football, you're playing baseball, but you never really thought about Major League Baseball. You always just thought about like where you were at that moment. So when you're playing high school, it's like, all right, I'm gonna take baby steps and focus on high school. How important was that for you in your development? And also, too, what would you say to like so many other people who are listening to this right now, no matter what it is that they do, what field that they're in, when it comes to that type of approach? Because in those early stages in high school, if you knew what you had to go through to get to the point that you're in right now, you might not not actually do it because you know how much hard work goes into it.
Looking back on I'll even go a little bit further back, the travel, like, 12, 13-year-old travel ball days and high school baseball games and stuff. I would say those games, I don't want to say meant more, but going through that, it's a game, and it really is a kid's game. So being able to enjoy those moments, and like, I still remember, 2009 winning our CIF championship game at Angel Stadium, and all those memories that you create, that where it is just a game, that those make it really special. And before, this became a job, there's a lot of little things that you take for granted, because this is a grind. Once you get to playing 162 games a year or season, you can easily forget, all those little things that got you here and the joys that got you here. So for those kids that are, listening to this or watching this, enjoy those little moments, because you're going to be out there with your friends, and next thing you know, it's going to be over. So enjoy those little moments.
Yeah, such great advice. And for you, by taking that approach this entire time in high school, having that starting back then, it then led you to San Diego State University, where you got the chance to play under Tony Gwynn, Coach Gwynn. Just that in general is such a great opportunity for you. And going into college, you never, I've heard you say this before in past interviews, but you never had that like wow factor, or at least you believe that you've never had that wow factor. So that just says a lot about what you've been able to accomplish too, is because a lot of these prospects, or a lot of people just in general, get hyped up because they are very good looking, because they're very strong, because they could hit a ball 500 feet, but you never kind of let anybody's outside opinions take away from what you had to offer.
Yeah, I think that was just one of those things where, I couldn't really control what the outside people, saw or thought. I just treated it as like a game. I went out there, I had fun, and whatever happened happened. And I mentioned a little bit earlier, it wasn't until my sophomore year of college where I was really thought I could play at the professional level, because I never really got that exposure, I guess, or that attention, that kind of attention, where the draft was even a possibility. So yeah, it was one of those things where, I did get looked over a lot, and it just kind of built me up and made me who I was.
Dude, yeah, it just adds fuel to the fire.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, more or less, it got to a point where, yeah, it added fuel to the fire. At first, it was just like, all right, whatever. But it got to a point where I was going out and proving that I was better than people, and still not getting that opportunity. So that's when started adding fuel to the fire.
Dude, let's go. And your entire experience at San Diego State University, just being under Coach Gwynn, and I've heard you say this before because I felt very similar to people who I know. There's a national champion, we call him national champion now, at Quinnipiac University, strength and conditioning. He actually had mentored a lot of people, whether it's Eric Cressy, Matt Blake, a lot of guys in baseball and just all sports in general. But when I was at Quinnipiac, I always looked at him as kind of just like Coach B, and now that I've been out of college for all this entire time and seeing what his impact has been in the entire world of sports and just everything within that strength and conditioning world. Now I'm like, damn, that was pretty cool. That one, we have a great relationship, but two, got the opportunity to be with him that entire time, and it's very similar to how you feel about your time with Coach Gwynn.
Yeah. And I give him a lot of credit for that, because from the second you walk on campus at San Diego State, he made it to where he was just Coach Gwynn. He wasn't, there was a lot of guys, that San Diego kids, that, watched him growing up, and they step on campus and they immediately forget what he did as a Padre. He's just Coach Gwynn. So he did a really good job of making sure that, we didn't idolize him or any of that. It was just, hey, I'm here to help get you better, get you to that next level. And, he ran things very professionally, because, again, he played for so long. That's really all he knew. And, it really got you ready for that next level. So very grateful and fortunate for my time there with him, and miss him dearly.
What was that one story? I think it might have been during your freshman year, where I guess the team wasn't hitting, and he like picked up a pair of batting gloves.
Yeah, yeah, we weren't hitting very well, and as good as he was 50 something years old at that time. Wasn't the most mobile, but yeah, we weren't hitting very well, and he was kind of just getting fed up with watching our swings in the cage, and he asked one of our guys for a pair of their batting gloves. So he takes them off, puts the kid's gloves on, grabs a bat, steps in the cage, and just wherever he wanted to hit the ball, he was hitting it. He'd call it out. He's left field, right field, second base, shortstop. And the last one, our assistant coach Mark Martinez was throwing, and he goes, "Hey Mark, watch out!" Hits one right past his nose. So walks out of the cage. He looks at us. He said, "It's not that hard, guys."
What a legend.
It is. I've never seen anything like that. It was, I mean, to be where he was at his stage of life and still to be able to control the bat the way that he did, it was unbelievable.
That literally sounds like something that could be completely made up, and I'm sure at that point, that because that was right when you were getting there, you probably like looked at your teammates and you're just like, "Holy shit! Like, did you just see that?"
Yeah, I mean, we're 18 to 21-year-old kids. And, I think that was one of the moments where I was like, well, that's Tony Gwynn, the legend, right there. That's who he was. But no, I mean, it was a really cool moment. Unfortunately, it took us sucking for him to do that, but it is what it is.
Hey, you got to see the contrast, right?
Yeah,
So, one name that you mentioned, Mark Martinez, he was a guy who said that no matter if it was early or later on in the day, it could be 10 o'clock at night after games, well after practice, you'd be in the batting cage alone taking swings, like when nobody's looking, when nobody's there. When I read that, like regardless of projections, regardless of anything, just that alone, getting those reps in, especially when no one's watching, that's what it takes. You had a lot of sacrifices, and in college, as you know, at 10 o'clock at night, you could be doing a bunch of different other things. But you were in the cage taking swings.
yeah. I mean, that wasn't all the time, but there was a handful of times where especially I think it was my freshman year. Early on, I was struggling. Just couldn't figure out the adjustment from high school to college pitching, and that was kind of my little escape. I'd get in there and throw the headphones in and just kind of do some tee work and just move the bat around and try and figure out my swing. But there was a handful of times where I didn't really. We had lights in the cage, so it didn't really matter what time you wanted to go hit. It was always open, and we had our own code to the locker room to be able to get all our stuff. And there's probably I'd say five to 8 times where it was 10 o'clock to midnight, and guys would pop in and get their work in.
Dude, so awesome. And what's crazy about all this is that you also had an injury that was kind of like a freak injury, right? Like
Yeah,
there was an umpire and like you slid and you tell it better than I would, but it's like you're going into college and you're trying to set yourself up for success for later on down the road, and just like a freak accident happens, and next thing you know, you're kind of dealing with that.
the first 3 quarters of my freshman year was not very good. The last quarter, I turned it on and ended up being a freshman All American, and then that next fall, going into my sophomore year, really excited for the season just because the way the freshman year ended, and we had an inter squad game, and our shortstop, he had to go do like a situational bunt type of thing. So I filled in at shortstop. I don't play shortstop. I was a third baseman, but they just needed a body out there. So I just went out there, and he ended up doing a slash and hitting the ball back up the middle. And I dive to my left and hit the umpire. Basically, it just kind of felt like a football stinger in my shoulder, and I didn't really think much of it because it went away pretty quick. And then over the next probably 3 weeks to a month, it just felt like there was a bunch of pressure in my shoulder. I couldn't get rid of it. And I got an x-ray. Season had started. I ended up getting an x-ray, and the x-ray was clean, didn't show anything. So just kind of kept going about my business. It just felt heavy, and I kept having to like crack my shoulder to make it feel better. And after about 2 3 weeks of season, Coach Martinez asked me like, dude, what's going on? Like, why do you keep doing that? It's like, I don't know. It just feels better. So I ended up getting an MRI, and it showed a slight tear in my labrum. At that point, I was hitting, I think, 480 through like 3 weeks of the season. And I had already played too many games to where I couldn't redshirt. So I either burn the rest of the year and just not play and get it fixed, or I play through it, get the surgery at the end of the year. So I was like, well, I don't want to waste a year. I can clearly hit with it, so might as well just go through it. And ended up having a really good sophomore year, and got it fixed at the end of the year. So
So that happens to you, right? And a lot of people, again, like that's a little bit of a setback, so that could affect them tremendously, especially your freshman year. Like, you have an incoming class that somebody could maybe take your spot. I know you said you're hitting 490, but it's just like you have all this momentum, right? And then something like that happens that can derail it at any time. And then as time goes by, you eventually are told that you're going to get drafted at a somewhat earlier time slot than you actually were, which, guys, Ty was drafted in the 34th round, which I'm pretty sure that round isn't even around it anymore in baseball. 34th round, dude. That's nuts. Like, that's Mike Piazza-esque, which I know you're a big Mike Piazza fan growing up, so kind of fitting too that in some way you took after one of your role models.
yeah, I mean the draft was a wild process, and it ended up all working out. But at the time, yeah, I was expecting to go. I had 3 really good years of college. I'd spoke with almost every pro team, and had very high expectations going into the draft. And when those rounds kind of passed by, and there's not even one phone call, I started to not question like what was going on, but trying to figure out what was going on, because I was told one thing, and another thing was happening. But again, everything happens for a reason, and ended up slipping to the 34th round. But very grateful for the Padres organization, and taking a chance on me.
I love it because it adds to your story. If you got drafted in the earlier rounds, it wouldn't be as consistent with the previous like 20 something years of your life. And I think that a lot of people, because of that draft slot and because of what they know about you, or maybe what they're learning about you right now, it kind of like adds to who you are as a person and the story that you can share, your success story, because now other people in your position who aren't getting hyped up, who don't have the quote unquote wow factor, get told that they don't have it, like now they're hearing this type of stuff and they're knowing that it's possible because they're seeing you do it. After that, you go into the minors, and a lot of times, as you know, playing college baseball, your path to the majors is a little bit quicker. But I think you spent, what was it, 5 seasons in the minors, or
It was 4.
and 1 year, the year of your debut, like in the most Tony Gwynn fashion, you hit what, 399,
Yeah,
dude. That's nuts.
yeah, that was fun baseball. The PCL is a very hitter friendly league, but yeah, to show up every day and kind of know you're going 2 for 5 every day, that's a fun feeling.
To that point, right? So like you could be hitting basically 400, but you still have to work just as hard as the next guy and as that top prospect or that person who signed for millions of dollars, because you have that much more to prove. Because if there's somebody that's just seeing your bio stuff on paper, they're like, all right, 34th round. If he doesn't perform, see you later. So I'm sure that you experienced a lot of that throughout your time in the minors. So like, not saying you have to hit 400 in the minors, but I'm sure that helped a ton when it came to getting the deserved recognition within the system.
Yeah, I think one thing, again, I have to give the Padres system a lot of credit. The way they treated their guys, at least when I was going through the minor leagues, they were very big on, if you perform, you move up to that next level. It didn't really matter, if you were the number one prospect or the last guy drafted. If you know came out, played hard, and put up numbers, they rewarded you. So luckily for me, I was able to put up those numbers, and kind of show them that I can play, and they rewarded me for that.
At that time, did you have TG19 for Tony Gwynn 19 on your equipment? Or did you just start doing that at the major league level, or when did that start?
We started doing it my junior year of college, when he passed away going into my junior year, and the whole team kind of, we wanted to honor him, and kind of play that season for him. And I just kind of carried it through pro ball.
Amazing. So my guy, Tony Gwynn Jr., there's an interview that you did with him I can because you were in the Padres organization. He was doing some work for the Padres broadcast, and he's the man. I love him. He's literally the best. But he was doing an interview with you, and just the story. I get the chills thinking about it. Just the stories that you were sharing. He was just so into your responses and just like really taking it all in. Like I almost just feel like I thought before, after all the research, that you're an extension of Tony Gwynn from hitting 399 to TG19 on your equipment to the way that you carry yourself, being a Cali dude, going to San Diego State University where he played, playing for the Padres. I felt like during that interview when I was watching it, it just kind of confirmed those beliefs just because of how much Tony was really into what you were saying. So, do you kind of feel that similar way as being an extension of him?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to I don't want to say an extension of him, but you know, being that the time that I got to spend with him and everything that he had taught me, there were so many not only baseball lessons but life lessons where he wanted us to be, before good baseball players, good people. And so he taught us so many things that you know I'll speak for me personally, I try and carry throughout my just life, daily life. And to have had a mentor like that, and someone who cares about you more as a person than a baseball player first, that meant a lot. And there's a lot of these college coaches who you know only care about you while you're there, and then you don't exist. So for him to have taught us those things and given us that opportunity to take that further than college, very very grateful for that. And I'll try my best to make him proud.
Amazing. I'm sure that he is, and a lot of life lessons too, right? And I think that one of the most important and most simple things that he preached to you and the team was get in the best position and take a swing. That's not just baseball. That goes for everything in life.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think a lot of his baseball terminology had some life stuff to it too. So yeah, I mean, literally, just when he talked about hitting, it was what you just mentioned. It was just get in position and take your best swing. Coming on campus as a freshman, 18-year-old kid, you expect him to make you the next Tony Gwynn, which obviously is impossible to do. But when he tells you just get in position and take your best swing, you're like, that's what I've been doing my whole life. Like, what do you mean that's not going to make me you? How is that supposed to make me you? Um, but no, it was just simplify hitting as much as possible, simplify school as much as possible, simplify life as much as possible. Like, just make things simple. And that he was really good at doing that.
And going off of that, you about getting in the best position, take your best swing. You end up leaving the Padres organization, going to the Mariners organization off a trade, and that was pretty much the get in the best position possible and take a swing because you were roadblocked in San Diego. So now you have a new opportunity to get playing time with a different organization in Seattle. So that happened for a reason. And while you were in San Diego, you had the opportunity to have a relationship with Manny Machado, who like he said that you were one of the only guys who actually in a nice playful way, but like kind of like stepped up to him and was like having some fun challenging him.
Yeah. Once we signed Manny, I think it was, 2019. He signed later in spring. And I was having a really good spring at that time, and kind of was putting myself in position to be the opening day third baseman. And then we signed him, and I kind of obviously knew wasn't going to be the opening day third baseman anymore. So I took that as an opportunity to not only just learn from one of the best third basemen in the league, if not the best, but I took it as, hey, how can I make him better? How can I make him work harder? What can I do to push him? So yeah, there was a lot of times where I would, I'd make little side bets with him. Whoever makes more errors, has to buy dinner, stuff like that. Just little things to help. Um, I don't want to say like to keep him uncomfortable, I guess was the best way to put it. Um, but at the same time, not only was pushing to try and make him better, it was making me better. I had to work that much harder, knowing I had to go out work a platinum glove winner. So it was I was very very grateful that I was able to work with him and learn from him, and to this day, he's one of the best teammates I've ever had. So very grateful for that time.
Yeah, I'm sure he says the same thing about you now. Look at where you guys both are still to this day, which is awesome. Manny's the best. I love Manny. We've had a couple videos together that I think are in like the 203,000 view range on YouTube right now. So hopefully we'll be doing the same thing with this for you because you have such a great story, and I'm sure everybody's enjoying it. And that entire 2020 year, probably because of the trade that put you in a position to have success with a different organization, and then also too off the field, man, you got engaged that year out in Anchorage, Alaska.
Yeah. So we ended up going to Alaska. That wasn't an original like vacation plan. I luckily I had ended up purchasing the ring a few weeks before that, so I knew I was going to propose. And then one of my minor league teammates, him and his wife were going out there, and it was a very last minute, like, hey, do you guys want to come with us? And we're like, yeah, we're not doing anything else. Like, sure. So we ended up going out there, and ended up that was we were out there for a week, and the weather was not very good, and trying to set up like where I was going to propose at, a photographer, all those little things that go into it. And I'm making these blind phone calls to photographers and hoping they can, make it work. And
In Alaska.
yeah, in Alaska. So I had no clue what I was doing, but ended up on Thanksgiving. The weather was finally clear enough, which was our like second to last day there, or yeah, second to last day there. So I was able to propose that morning, and it was a really ended up being really cool, and was able to get all the photographer and stuff lined up. So it all worked out.
You chose a great spot, Beluga Point.
Yeah. Again, had no clue where to do it at. That was the photographer's recommendation, and amazing. It was a beautiful spot.
Did you guys drink from the like well water that comes out of the wall over there? So it was probably like across the street from where you were, because I know you were on the water side based off the video I saw. But across the street, like in the mountains, there's this like a spout or something that you could drink out of, and it's all natural water.
Oh no, we didn't know about that.
Wow, you might have to go back when you go to relive some of those moments, or if you ever end up going back there to visit where you got engaged. There's this wall out there. Basically, it's some of the freshest water that you can drink, and the only reason why I know this because I don't go on vacation often, but that was actually one place that I have been to, and that whole entire water area behind you, like where all the sturgeon and all those other fish are inside, when it's low tide, that like whole entire floor area, I think they call it like the flats or something like that. But if you try walking on that, you could get stuck. It's almost like not like quicksand, but it's not as safe as it looks, I guess you could say.
Yeah. No, I mean, when we were there, everything was frozen, so we didn't really get to explore that stuff too much. But
Dude, I think you might have to go back out there.
yeah, I would like to go back during the summer. So eventually, whenever baseball is done, we'll probably head back there.
Yeah, and that's when they get all the sunlight too.
Yeah, that was the only downside of that. We only got like 4 hours of sunlight, so it was we had to make the most of it.
Nice. All right, so going back on the baseball side of things too. So now that all happened, so now it's like Ty France 2.0, ready to go. What's going to happen next? So you end up getting called up to the big leagues, and you found out while you're in Las Vegas, and kind of like what I was saying before about college, where it's like you could be partying at 10 o'clock at night, you could be doing all these other things, but you were just so focused and in the cage and wanted to get to your goal. Similar thing happened there when you were in Las Vegas and you got the call to the big leagues.
Yeah, it was 11:30, 11 o'clock at night. We were playing Vegas, and had a game the next day, so didn't really want to go out or do anything. Just kind of wanted to get my rest and get ready for the next day. And yeah, I got a call. I didn't have our manager's phone number at the time, and it was a 11 p.m. call from Puerto Rico phone number. And so I thought it was a spam and didn't answer it, put it to voicemail. And then within 2 seconds after I ignored the call, I got a text saying, "Hey, this is Edwin. Give me a call back." So I called him back and was like, "Hey, Are you out at the strip right now? I said, no, I'm in my room. I said, okay, good. You need to start packing. You're heading to San Diego in the morning for the day game tomorrow. And I couldn't believe, what he said. And I had to ask him, like, are you being serious? He's like, why would I lie about this? Get ready to go. You're going to the big leagues. So, yeah, made all my phone calls, packed up, and next morning was 6:30 in the morning. I was in the Las Vegas airport.
Can you imagine if if you didn't answer the call, or if you were like, "Yeah, actually I am," and he's like, "All right, I'll talk to you tomorrow. I'll see you at the ballpark," and then just call the next guy on the list, like, "Yeah, let's see if he's in his bed or or in a position to go to the
Yeah,
big leagues tomorrow."
yeah. No, it was, again, I was very thankful. I made the right decision, and got my rest that night, but what I could, because packing up and stuff, early flight. But no, it's I feel like that's how a lot of these call up stories happen, where um, you know there's always a wrench thrown in there.
Yep. So all this hard work that you've had throughout your entire life, from childhood at 2 years old to now getting your opportunity to play in the big leagues, 2022 rolls around. You didn't make the All Star team initially. However, you did get to replace somebody who you enjoyed watching play baseball growing up, and then you got to share a locker with him at the All-Star game. He still went, but in 2022, you became a Major League Baseball All-Star from the 34th round of the MLB draft to Major League Baseball All-Star, replacing Mike Trout and being next to him, dude. That had to have been one of the most top three moments in your career.
Yeah, definitely. To one, even just have that opportunity to be named a major league all star. Not everyone gets that title, so to be able to call yourself that, that means a lot. Just all the work personally that you put in throughout your entire life, to get that opportunity to go and represent your team in your city in that game. It's really cool and really cool experience. And I guess you can call it I got lucky at the end. Unfortunately, you never want someone to get hurt and have to remove themselves, but to be able to fill in for Mike and get that opportunity to hang out with him at the All Star game, grew up. It was early on in his career, but in high school, seeing him, what he did and just what he's done throughout his career, to be able to tell people that I was able to replace him is pretty cool.
When you got there, was it everything that it was cracked up to be, or what you envisioned as a kid?
Everything is just so fast paced, and there's just so much going on. You don't really have a chance to let it all sink in until the game actually starts. You're so busy with media and signings and the red carpet stuff, and there's just so much going on that you have to be in 100 places in 5 minutes. You're running around everywhere. So once that game started, though, I was able to just kind of take a deep breath and look around Dodger Stadium and realize, hey, like, I'm a major league all star. This is really cool. Um, so yeah, the first probably day and a half of it, you don't have time to like let that kind of moment sink in because you're doing so much.
How'd you celebrate?
I didn't have time to celebrate. I was able to go out to dinner with my agent and wife, but for the most part, it was we were on the go the whole time. So yeah, didn't really have too much time to celebrate.
Wow. How about after the season? Like, have you ever had that kind of moment where it's just not like a crying type moment, but almost been through so much. I've worked so hard. Because again, the theme throughout this entire thing, it's just you never had that high praise of a first round pick and somebody who's sexy. You know what I mean? Like you never got that praise, but here you are with literally the best of the best in what you do.
Yeah, I think once last year was over and I was able to kind of just sit down and reflect on the whole year, what we did as a team and what I was able to accomplish individually is it was a really special year. And we had a really long drought in Seattle, so to be able to be a part of that group that helped end that, on top of being an all star that year, um, being able to when it was all done, just sit down, catch my breath, and kind of just reflect on the year. It was a special year.
Dude, let's go, baby. All right, so transitioning into some of the off the field stuff. During that time when they were promoting you for the All-Star game, you did a lot of fun videos. You still do a lot of fun videos to this day. I think it's just so awesome to see because you've said before when you're in San Diego, you live near the ballpark and you'd walk across the street and nobody would recognize you, right? So now you're doing all these videos and just seeing how much the fans enjoy you, whether you're at Starbucks as a barista and like fans coming up to you being like, "Oh, my daughter met you last week. I took a picture. She took a picture with you. Now I'm here and I got to take a picture with you." Just seeing that type of response, knowing what it was like before, how much of an impact have you seen just by doing these fun videos that you've been I wouldn't say like more recognized or better received from the fan base, but like how much of an impact have you seen through these videos?
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun being able to, create this content, and our social media team does a great job of helping promote us and put us out there. But yeah, no, I like to. I don't want to call myself a goofball, but I like to have fun, and especially off the field. On the field, this game is hard enough, but once you're able to, take a step back and enjoy the little moments, and little things like being able to go to Starbucks in my uniform and make coffee, and things like that. It's nice to get away from the field and interact with the fans. And Seattle, they love the Mariners, and they bring a lot of energy to the stadium, and they care a lot. And so to be able to have those interactions with them and be a part of that is really cool.
Do you have a preference of type of video that you do when somebody approaches you? They're like, "Hey, Ty, here's an idea that we have. What do you think?" And you just hope that it's them being like, "Oh, let's go to Seattle Kraken game," or like, "Oh, let's I don't know, go to like In and Out or something."
Yeah, I think the In and Out video and the Starbucks video those were a lot of fun. The In and Out one was probably my favorite. Getting to do that and um, film that was it was funny. It was a good one. Yeah, yeah. And after that hour and a half I worked at Starbucks, you get a whole new respect for what they do, because it's not easy. They're running around, especially I can only imagine it wasn't as busy when we were there, but during like a rush hour type of thing, like they're running around, trying to make 30, 40 drinks at one time. There's a lot that goes into it. So it's not as easy as just making coffee.
Dude, and you're dodging people left and right, spinning around. I know your boy JP Crawford was there, which he's been in a lot of the videos that you've done too. So are you guys kind of like a package deal?
Kind of, sort of. I think our personalities mix well, and especially going out and doing those kind of events or videos, we feed off each other well. So I think that's why they keep picking us.
Do you have a preference of like something that you'd like to do, or maybe I don't know, this could go for partnerships also on Instagram or social media. Like, is there anything that you want to try to like start focusing in on or doing more of, or just as recently you just had the dog post, the sponsored post. Is there anything that you want to try to get more into?
It's not really something that I go out and search for too much. It's kind of, if ideas pop up or ideas are brought to me. No, there's not like one specific where, like, I want to be, you know, I want to have this sponsorship, or I want to do that. It's more so just ideas kind of brought to me, or if I happen to be out, like the farmer's dog, happened to be playing first base and saw the farmer's dog ad, so the team was sponsored by them. So kind of reached out to them, and it's not really something where I need a Chick-fil-A deal, or something like that. Like, it's
But
just
Chick-fil-A, if you're listening, he wants some.
yeah. There you go. I had Chick-fil-A yesterday, and I have Chick-fil-A sauce right there. That's what made me think of Chick-fil-A. So, uh, but no, yeah,
You're
it's
staring at the empty box on the desk right now.
no, it's just the sauce. But
With like all the content creation, now can you walk across the street without getting recognized or with getting recognized? Like like in Seattle, will somebody spot you easily now?
I wouldn't say easily. There are definitely more heads turning, and kind of more staring while we're out in public. But the people of Seattle and the fans have been very respectful and polite about it. I've had there have been times where I've been sitting down at a restaurant eating. They'll wait till I'm done eating to come over and ask for a picture, or just say hi. And it's a really cool moment when someone takes the time out of their day to just come say hi. And a lot of times it's thanks for what you've done. You guys have been great. those kind of things. So the fans in Seattle are one of a kind.
Amazing. And I feel like you're, like we said before, like very likable, just an easy, approachable type of guy too. So I'm sure the fans respect that a lot too. And you're a huge dog person. I feel like all dog people are for the most part, great people.
Yeah, yeah. You don't meet too many bad ones.
Two golden retrievers. One, at least one of them you adopted, right?
Yeah, yeah. My wife and I, we got our 4-year old.
What a good guy.
Yeah, we got her in 2019, and then this spring training, we had been talking about wanting a second one, but we didn't know if it was the right time or how we wanted to go about it. And then Seattle Rescue, Oaken Dog, they had posted him on their social media on their Instagram, and I showed my wife, and I was like, I think this is a sign. Like, I think we this is the one. And very thankful for them because they held on to him for us. It was the same rescue that we got our team dog Tucker from. So had some connections there, and they ended up getting our dog Buddy a foster for a few weeks while we were still in Arizona, and then once we got up to Seattle, we were able to pick him up and join the family.
I'm surprised that when you guys were out in Turks and Caicos that you didn't end up coming home with a pot cake.
A pot cake, like
There's so many dogs on the island that when you go there as a visitor, you can actually adopt one for free. They take care of all the shots and they actually fly the dog back to wherever it is that you're going to. So it's like they
okay,
have a
so we
bunch of
didn't.
dogs running around. Dude, they're all cute. They all got
Yeah,
accents too.
we
That's too
saw we saw dogs running around, but we didn't know that was an option.
Yeah. Hey, next vacation. So Alaska when you go back there, and then you'll drink from the wall, and then Turks and Caicos, you'll come home with a third dog.
Yeah, I don't know if we're ready for the third dog yet, but the second one's keeping us busy.
And then also on the content side too, for getting mic'd up when you're on the field. I think that's awesome. Obviously, baseball seems to be doing a lot more of that, but there's, I'm sure you got a lot of tags on Instagram when you had gotten mic'd up. But there's one video that I would have loved to have known, and I'm sure a lot of other people, what you were saying to George Kirby inside the dugout. And you may or may not know what I'm talking about because there's probably a lot of things that you've talked to him inside the dugout. But you get like super close to him, and it almost looks like you're about to whisper in his ear, like sniff his face.
Honestly, I don't really remember what I said. I remember we were in Oakland. Is a day game in Oakland, and I think it was just something along the lines of like he's so good, and he holds himself to such high expectations that he gets lets a guy get on first, and he's upset. So I think it was just something along the lines of like, hey, you need to fix your face, like, because you're cranky right now for no reason. So it's just something along the lines of that. Like I said, I've said this before. This game is so hard. Where we're at, we do hold ourselves to such high expectations, and you can forget, just to let go of those things and have fun. And um, so I was just, that's my personality on the field. I try and make light of things and try and help the guys enjoy this. Because this game's not forever, so you want to make the best of it while you can.
Dude, I think a perfect example of that was when there was a player who'd slid into first base on a throw back to first. You tagged him. He was obviously safe. And just as a joke, you picked up his hand and like tagged him. And like, because when you're the runner and you're getting picked off, you're like, oh shit. And like, you kind of freeze up, you know? So you're in that state of like, oh my God. But by you doing that, I feel like kind of like let him make him feel like, okay, that wasn't that big of a deal. Everything's good. Like, this is fun.
Yeah. I remember that when he had got to first, I'm a talker on the field. I'll say hi to everyone that gets to first, and he was talking like a million miles an hour, and I think there was just a lot of adrenaline. So I forgot who was pitching, but he picked off and he was safe, and I thought it was a good idea to try and help him kind of relax and loosen up, and I think it made him tense up a little bit more. So. It was fun. I only did that because it was a spring training game. If it was in season, I wouldn't have done that.
Yeah, I think it might have been spring training when you were mic'd up and you were saying how you're a very fit first baseman and not very fast and like you're running all around the field for like a foul ball and like a ball that ended up going foul. That was a funny line.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I just try and speak the truth.
Yeah, and Shohei Ohtani when he was standing next to you at first base. You're a big dude, like you're strong, but you kind of looked small next to him. I didn't realize how big that like he was. Like I've been in his vicinity and like with him before, but like actually kind of seeing the both of you guys together because again, like you're a strong dude, but like he seemed like he's a giant.
Yeah, there's a few guys in this league that when they get to first, I try and stand, a couple steps away from them because they just tower over me. So, he's definitely one of them where he's looking down on me. So yeah, he's a big dude.
So for a lot of people who are listening to this right now, when it comes to just content creation in general, and again, it doesn't matter what it is that you're doing, playing a sport or just trying to build your own personal brand, what would you say to them about leaning into this type of stuff? Because you've done so much of it on the field, off the field, that it's without question helped you as far as building your own brand. But was there any sort of like second guessing into doing it or anything like that? And again, like what would you say to them because you have done so much?
The biggest thing I could suggest is just go for it. It's I'm not that type of person. I'm usually kind of, I don't want to say reserved, but I don't like, I won't sit here in front of my phone and talk to my phone. Like I'm not good at that kind of stuff. And, it takes a lot of courage to be able to do that kind of stuff. So, um, it's one of those things where once you just go out and do it and don't really care, kind of what is going to be said or thought about you, you just go have fun with it. And, at the end of the day, it's to make people laugh and have a good time. So, just if you're worried about it, if you're nervous, just go for it. It's not as bad as you making it out to be in your head.
Dude, let's go. And I want everybody who's listening to this to be able to follow you on your social media platforms and see these videos and photos that we're talking about and really see you lean into this or continue to at least and have all the success on the field as well too. So where can everybody follow you on social media?
Only on Instagram, Ty France underscore. Um, but yeah, that's the only one I'm going with.
Dude, my man Ty France, that was awesome. I appreciate you coming on. Keep swinging. Definitely been looking forward to this for a long time.
Yeah, man, it was a blast. Thank you again for having me. Appreciate it.